Shout out to G-Man Boxing.
Alright people, I just got finished watching the True Geordie Tyson Fury interview. Very good interview, very enjoyable watch. I've never been the biggest fan of True Geordie, truth be told, but I got to big him up. He did a fantastic job in this interview. He was very respectful with his questions. He was actually very respectful the whole way through. Tyson Fury seemed very, even at the start of the interview, the first question was about KSI, so it wasn't like, True Geordie got Tyson Fury on instantly difficult questions. No, he kind of eased his way into it, but Tyson Fury seemed very, what is it, maybe on edge, the best word to describe. He just didn't seem happy to be, it was obviously done over Zoom, but he didn't seem happy to be being interviewed. Now maybe he's an issue with True Geordie, I don't know. Prior to this interview, I don't know, but he didn't seem the most chipper, put it like that, in this interview. Now, True Geordie obviously asked him several questions about KSI. Obviously asked his thoughts on the Conor Benn situation. Tyson Fury never really commented on that. He just said, look, it's none of my business. Whatever's happening. Fair enough. Asked about the Anthony Joshua situation, and he basically just said, look, that fight is dead. The deadline was there, and that's what happened. He didn't meet the deadline, whatever. But interestingly, this is when the interview really started to change. True Geordie correctly pointed out, and he said, well, look, he gave Joshua an awful lot of deadlines, and the deadline was well known. But with Chisora, there was no public deadline or anything. And that's when we went into the Chisora talk. And this is when the interview, it was really only after, near the end, where Fury really started going in on True Geordie, calling him a tosser and stuff like that. And, a lot more other things that I'm not going to say on YouTube because I want this video monetized. I'm not going to say it. But he went in on True Geordie, with insults at the end. And again, True Geordie asked Tyson Fury the questions we all want answered. And simply it's about the Derek Chisora situation. Like, I personally don't want to see this fight. I just don't see the point in it. Personally, I think it's just a cash grab, and True Geordie pointed out as well. He's like, you're going to charge people their hard-earned money, especially nowadays when, things, I've said it once, I'll say it again, everything is more expensive for obvious reasons, and people just don't have that kind of disposable income, and you're going to charge them pay-per-view to see a fight that is clearly a mismatch. And Tyson Fury responded to that by saying, well, Derek Chisora, he's in his last few fights, it is 2020, he fought Alexander Usyk and he did a better job than Joshua. He said it was 50-50. It wasn't a 50-50 fight in terms of which way it went. Usyk won that fight clearly. But yes, admittedly, he did a better job than Anthony Joshua did in both fights, but styles make fights. And True Geordie pointed out as well that we've seen you fight Chisora twice already. And the last time you fought, fans booed near the end because it was just one-sided. That was 8 years ago. What makes anyone think it's going to be any different this time? It's going to be worse this time because Chisora, out of his last 15 fights, he's only won 50%. He's been looking terrible as of late. Why are we having this fight? And Fury tried to kind of deflect it and say, well, look, with Deontay Wilder, no one complained about the trilogy. And no one's going to complain if I fight him for a fourth time. And again, True Geordie, very, well astute, pointed out, well, Deontay Wilder's dropped you, 4 times in 3 fights? He's lethal with that right hand. And it can land suddenly, like that. So there's always that X factor with Deontay Wilder. There's always that, oh, but what if he lands? Oh, but look at that right hand. Your edge of your seat kind of stuff. You don't have that with Derek Chisora. He's never come close to hurting Tyson Fury in the 2 fights when he was fresher. So you can't swing it and say, well, no one complained about Wilder, so why are they complaining now? So no one complained about Wilder because Wilder is a lethal, historically great puncher who always has a chance. With Chisora, again, and Wilder is nowhere near as shop-worn as Derek Chisora. And he tried to as well spin it that, with the Wilder situation, no one complained, and it's a similar situation with Chisora, but people are complaining. It's like people are complaining, and it's not the same. You fought Wilder in December 2018. It was a draw. I thought Fury won it, to be fair. I thought he did. Fights him again then February 2020. Okay? Fights him then in October 2021. Now, why did he fight Deontay Wilder on October 21? Did he look at Deontay Wilder and think, oh, we had 2 good fights, made a good bit of money, let's do a 3rd one for the fans? No. Tried to make the Anthony Joshua fight, went to a court of arbitration because there was a rematch clause in place for Deontay Wilder after the 2nd fight. The court of arbitration ruled in Deontay Wilder's favour, and they said, Tyson, you're fighting Wilder next, end of. Wasn't like this with Derek Chisora. Not like this at all. He's literally just said, Chisora, I'm fighting you, end of. To even insinuate that they're the same is laughable. Which it is, it's laughable. And Tyson Fury fanboys, of course, as they are, will try and defend it and be like, well, you don't complain if he fights Wilder, but you complain now he fights Chisora in the trilogy. Oh yeah, I do, because this is a mismatch. And as True Geordie was saying, rightfully, other people are saying that as well, it's a mismatch. And when you have a fight like this, which is viewed as such a mismatch, and Chisora not been looking the best as of late, there's a real risk that Chisora could come out of this pretty badly hurt, which none of us want to see. So I agree with the questions from True Geordie there, and they're questions that I feel need to be asked, and they're not being asked. And I'll touch on that later, why, and it's a perfectly logical reason why they're not being asked, to be fair. But he also spoke about legacy, and as I said, Fury was contradicting himself a lot in here. He spoke about legacy and says, well, I don't care about legacy. But True Geordie said, but you're always self-proclaiming yourself as the best. You're saying you're the best heavyweight who's ever lived. You're the best of this era. And, you've not fought the Joyces. You've not fought the Alexander Usyks. You've not fought the Joshuas. And he said, well, 2 things. He said, well, one, Joyce and Usyk aren't in my era. This is your era. He was implying that when he beat Klitschko, that was Fury's era, and Joshua was in that. But Joyce obviously was still an amateur at the time, and Usyk was fighting at cruiserweight. He wasn't even the champion at the time. It's like, that's a silly argument. They're in the era now. This era is still going on. It's going on now. They're in your era. Fight them. To say that a win over Klitschko, 2 fights over Deontay Wilder and Dylan White gives you the status of all-time great heavyweight. Usyk, arguably the greatest cruiserweight of all time, and now unified heavyweight champion. In my opinion, Usyk has a much bigger claim to be calling himself an all-time great than Tyson Fury, based upon Usyk's resume and what he's achieved, amateur and pro alone. But Fury kept, harping the fact that, I don't care about legacy, but at the same time, I'm the greatest of all time. I mean, make that make sense? I don't know. But True Geordie wasn't letting it off. He was really grilling Fury hard about this fight, and there was no real kind of explanation as to why we're taking it. He kind of said near the end, True Geordie said, look, are you almost giving your buddy a payday? Is it just like, Derek, me and you are pals, here's a payday, and let's sail off into the sunset? Because as True Geordie was saying, there was so many other opponents there in the top 15, and there was. I mean, Cavallel, Valeen, rematch. Love to see that rematch. You have Frank Sanchez, super dangerous stylistically for Tyson Fury. Super dangerous fight stylistically for him. That'd be brilliant to watch. Well, it actually wouldn't be brilliant to watch. It'd be pretty dull. But just from an intrigue point of view, from a boxing purist point of view, it'd be very intriguing. So many, Ruiz. I think Tyson Fury beats all of them, by the way, just saying. I think Tyson Fury is tremendous. But the way he tries to bamboozle fans by saying this 1 minute and that the next and contradicting himself, it's so easy to see. It's so easy. Like with True Geordie, you could see that he was really on top of everything. He knew what he wanted to ask, and he knew the answers Fury were given. It was so easy to counter them. And you could see that Fury was really getting annoyed by the end. And by the end, True Geordie just said, look, it was about 17 minutes long. True Geordie said, look, thank you for the interview, etc., etc. And then Fury just called him a tosser, and he goes, I won't be interviewing you again, or you won't be interviewing me again. And the questions True Geordie asked Tyson Fury were the questions that I feel should have been asked, and he did a very good job, did an excellent job, did True Geordie, with this interview. And I seen Chris Andre say on Twitter, and he's right, and this is another thing, is that this is one of the reasons why a lot of boxing YouTube channels who do interviews, we complain that they're not asking the difficult questions, but if they did, would they be in a situation like this where they're getting maybe cursed out by a fighter and then being told, well, you're not going to interview me again? At the end of the day, channels like mine, channels like Chris Andre, Jamie Hatman, etc., we cover boxing news, we preview fights, etc., etc. I do go to the odd event, and I treat that more as a treat than I do actual work, because I'm seeing boxing on press row and all this. It's brilliant. I get to interview somebody when I do interview fighters, but I see it more as a kind of treat than anything else. At the minute now, I'd love to do it full time. I mean, I could do it full time if I wanted, but that costs a lot of money, and it don't make enough money to do it from YouTube. But there are channels like Seconds Out, IFL, ID Boxing, where they are 95% interview based. So they need access to these fighters. They need access to these shows. They need access to these promoters. At the end of the day, as much as you don't want to see it, if Rob Tebbutt went to Tyson Fury and asked him the questions that True Geordie asked him, chances are ID Boxing wouldn't be getting into any of these events. Is that right? No. But that's likely what it is. And it's not just Tyson Fury. If you went to Eddie Hearn and you really grilled them, let's say, I don't know, she wouldn't, but let's just say MJP went and grilled Eddie Hearn over. She wouldn't do that. But in a hypothetical scenario, let's say she did. You really think he'd let behind the gloves in for interviews at Matchroom shows again? Probably not anytime soon. So I can kind of see it's different for us from the outsider looking in on YouTube, where like 95% of my content isn't interviews. I do interviews occasionally, but it's primarily boxing news, topics like this, breakdowns, etc. So for me, it's easy to say, like, why don't they ask him these questions? But at the same time, they're making a living out of it, and they need to be at these interviews because they get a Tyson Fury interview, 200,000 views on YouTube, cha-ching. They get an interview with Eddie Hearn, 100,000 views on YouTube, cha-ching. All of a sudden, you don't have them. Well, that revenue is gone down. So I can see why they do, to be fair. But yeah, this was an intro. It was a good watch. Again, I've never been the biggest True Geordie fan, but I thought he did a fantastic job with this interview. Really, really impressed. Really did some great work there. So that's my thoughts on this. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Probably going to go live about 6:30 this evening. Chat a bit about Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn. But I use that as kind of, we'll put it down as the title, but we talk about whatever. Anything boxing related we'll talk about this evening. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button, people, if you could. What are your thoughts on the interview, the True Geordie interview? Do you think, like me, this is one of the reasons why we don't see as many interviewers grilling fighters, promoters, etc.? And just what are your thoughts on how did Tyson Fury handle himself in it? Were you surprised to see him have a little bit of an outburst like that at the end, or was it what you expected based upon he didn't seem too chipper the whole way through, even before the hard questions started getting asked? Let me know your thoughts. Smash the like button, people. I'll talk to you. Peace.